Yo guys, what's going on? We're going over the mid-season 9.7 update patch notes. We got a bit of a banger here, and there is a ton in this patch. Maybe some support buffs, maybe no longer a dead role, but we'll find out. So first thing is the skins, Nickelodeon Battle Pass. You guys can pause at any point, go to the link. What's up, Kat? Look at the stuff for yourself. I've heard from Leah, my girlfriend, that Powdered Toastman Gilgamesh has quite the booty on him, and that it like shakes or some shit when he's walking around. So if you're into that, that's dope. Do your thing on that. Not a battle pass. Yeah, it's like an event or something. Whatever. It doesn't matter. There's skins. I think the battle pass is this stuff. It's like It's like a Zodiac battle pass, something like that. I'm not like a skin guy, so it's whatever. New to God skins live again. Pause if you guys want to see any of this. Release schedule for this Nickelodeon event, not a battle pass, as I was so accurately corrected already. Zodiac Council battle pass. Yeah, I got that part right. Smite Night update. Same sort of stuff. They're just Jade Corruption Joust. It's just a different map, right? Corrupted Arena. That's what I was looking for. Okay, cool. So simple Smite Night stuff, all that type of stuff. Free God rotation change now. This is kind of a cool one. New favor for tier 2 skins. So instead of spending 250 gems, you can spend 25,000 favor, and there's a list right here of all the skins that applies to. And also there are some skins not affected, some shadow stuff, so just all that. Bug fixes, I skimmed through this earlier. I've never even seen most of these bugs, but I guess like Primal Fury doing more damage is one that I'm sure I have felt, but didn't think it was bugged. I just was like, oh wow, the Gold Fury is fucking spanking me. Speed buff, again, I don't really notice that much. I've never noticed this bug where a spirit minion could be crowd controlled and become immune. But I guess it makes sense. Probably not that hard to do. I just don't know why people would do it, I guess. Killing the Fire Giant gave 2 buffs to gods instead of 1. Surely these things are niche, and I haven't been screwed by these before. We're just going to move on. Some random bug fixes, all that. The Magi's and Spirit Robe one, pretty big, so they should be back in the game because they were removed. Oh, that was in jungle practice. Okay, thank God. I was going to say, I was so confused, man. Okay. Anyways, here's the actual stuff that we care about. Here's the real patch notes. And it begins with game modes, conquest, brawling change. So brawling is just the out of combat debuff that you get. So when you're a healer and you're in combat, you heal for your normal amount, assuming you're not anti-healed. When you're out of combat, there's a brawling debuff that decreases the amount of healing you're doing. The brawling debuff applies after 3 seconds out of combat, so it's the same amount of time that it takes you to like blink, for example. But now it is 5 seconds for brawling. The reason for this is something like Sun Wukong's ultimate. He would go up into the air and then lose a lot of healing from his ult because he's affected by brawling. If he has anti-heal on him, he still will be affected the same way. But if there's no anti-heal, his ult will just be able to actually heal its full duration. That is a buff to Wukong, obviously, but it's also a buff to just all healers in general. It's not a massive one. It's not like, mega heal meta inbound, but it is significant. It is pretty substantial, especially in the early to mid game before people really get a lot of healing online. Or maybe a good example of this would be something like a Yamoja. If you're taking like poke trades around a fire giant and you get like slightly poked, or maybe they don't have anti-heal on the person who poked you or your teammates, your 2 actually will do a lot more, whereas like it does feel a little bit worse when it can go off really quickly and then your heal is not that much. So anyways, it's a slight buff to characters like that. Every healer, I'm not going to go through all the specific scenarios. It's just a slight buff. This is actually a very big change. XP changes. I'm going to do the support one second. The mid-harpy change is actually a really big deal. Mid-harpy control already, I feel like, lends itself to being quite impactful as the game goes on. But now the early game mid-harpy reward, as well as just the reward for having consistent mid-pressure and being able to keep control of those camps, mid laners will get a lot more farm off of this, but more importantly, like the whole mid trio will get a lot more farm. I think side lanes generally are outscaling the mid trio, not to like an insane level or anything, but they are outscaling and out-farming them pretty hard. And this should be a lot more impactful for the mid trio to kind of if you have pressure in your mid trio, I think you're going to see some mages get really, really fed off of this sort of stuff, or mid laners, I shouldn't say just mages, but just mid laners in general. And then the lowest level shared XP bonus for support increased from level 1, or increased from 1.35 to 1.4, so it's 35% additional XP to 40% additional XP, so a 5% increase. It's actually really substantial. I mean, just having 5% more increase on basically all farm that you get as a support. The buff is going to be on support like 90% of the time. Really, really big buff, and one that you might not feel instantly, but there's some other changes that we'll see later in the patch that this really, really helps out. And support's just been getting pretty outscaled in general. You're seeing plenty of games where the support's down, 5, 6 levels, 7 levels at some point, especially in a competitive setting where you have so many other jobs that you have to do where you're losing a lot of farm. I think it'll just help support a lot, and it definitely needs it, especially at a ranked level. Glyphs, this is an exciting thing. Glyphs really haven't been touched that much since the start of Season 9, and glyphs are really cool in my opinion, just as like a design way, like a, just additional effects and unique effects I think are really cool. Jotun's Vigor, they actually have the icon on this wrong. This is the icon for Ferocity. Vigor is the one where you get to a certain threshold and you gain, I think it's lifesteal and movement speed. That one is staying the same. Jotun's Cunning is replacing Ferocity, so Ferocity was the one where you like apply a mark and stack it up, etc., etc. Cunning is now, every time you damage an enemy god with an ability, you gain a stack of wit. At 2 stacks, your next non-ultimate ability that damages an enemy god will get 25% of its cooldown instantly refunded. This is actually a really cool ability. If you imagine this on certain characters or combos, like, imagine doing this with like an Uller or something and getting your axe cooldown shorter, which also works with your passive and then puts your other cooldown shorter, a bunch of stuff like that. It could actually be really impactful, and I'm really excited to see what sort of characters or what sort of combos this kind of works really hard for. I think in general, the upgrades for Jotuns have been pretty ignored. But yeah, Jotun's Cunning, I think, could be a pretty cool item. I'm excited to see what happens. Really, the only item that has been glyphed and upgraded pretty consistently is really just Deathbringer. That's been the only one that's been pretty prominent throughout Season 9, in my opinion. A couple of the Rata-Tahuti, like, Rata-Tahuti is really character dependent. Maybe you'll do it every now and then, and like the breastplate glyphs get bought a little bit, but it's super situational, and I think having glyphs be more common in basically every build I think could be really cool, so I love that they're kind of touching those up. Calamitous Rod of Tahuti, unchanged. Perfected Rod of Tahuti, successfully damaging an enemy god with an ability, applies a mark for 3 seconds, damaging them a second time with another ability, consumes the mark and provides you 10% movement speed for 2 seconds, and reduces your non-ultimate abilities by 1.5 seconds. Only one mark can be active at a time and cannot be applied for 10 seconds after consuming a mark. It's interesting to think of the type of characters that would use this well. The first one that's kind of coming to my head is a character like Hebo, that is like fairly close range and is already like pretty fast. Poseidon would be another one that kind of benefits from the ability of like, Poseidon less so than Hebo in this sense, but like spamming your abilities on people and kind of weaving in and out of range of his abilities. I don't think I see this one getting bought that much, but I could be wrong. It's very character specific and very playstyle specific. So yeah, I like that it is unique and that it is pretty interesting, but I don't really know how much I could see it getting bought. 600 gold for a cooldown reduction thing isn't horrible, but it's just very niche. You probably don't do it until you're later in your build unless you're a character that really, really abuses it. But I could be wrong. We'll see. The item itself is just, like, Ratatouille is just fairly expensive as is. Bancroft's Talon is the magical damage item that is getting glyphs. Really, really cool in my opinion. Bancroft's is so unique with the type of characters that want to use it. It's such a different, like, class of mages compared to, let's say like Book of Thoth mages or stuff like that. It's just way different. And I like that a different play style is being amped up by this. The first thing you're going to think of is magical ADCs because they are getting the Nimble Rod of Tahuti passive. So that's all it is. It just goes on Bancroft's Town. This is going to be fucking nuts, guys. This will be really insane on the characters that want to build it. on magical ADCs, or just any character that really uses lifesteal like that, but mainly the magical ADCs, it's going to be so crazy. Like, not to mention, it's also fairly cheap. I believe Bancroft is 2,500 gold. Making that like a 3k gold item that gives you a ton of lifesteal, a ton of power, and attack speed, it'll give you everything you want if you're a character like Freya. I think this item could be really nuts, and it's funny how the same passive, but just on a slightly cheaper item, is such a huge deal, but it just is. Like, Bancroft is such a good early to mid-game item that seeing this earlier in the game and on magical ADCs, I think will be crazy. Bancroft's Claw, every 15 seconds, gain a stack of hunger, maximum of 3 stacks, so after 45 seconds, it's fully stacked. Abilities cast within 30 units of an enemy god consume a stack, dealing bonus damage equal to 0.5% of their max HP for each 75 magical power you have. Holy shit, I need a degree to finish this. Each god damaged by hunger provides you a shield of 1% of your max HP for each 75 magical power you have. This cannot exceed 35% of your max HP. Okay. Basically, you just damage them, and you get a shield. Is that it? That's all it is. You damage them and you get a shield. So this was just a really long way for them to balance the numbers of it. It's just damage plus shield. It's just a good trading item. Exactly. The reason it's worded the way it is so that you need a lot of magical power for the shield to be good, and it can't just be good on bruiser characters. It can't just be good on guardians that just pop this in as a single damage item. So this is a way where you'll probably see this item in duel a lot, something like that, where you're like constantly trading, or any sort of like bruiser mage. Hebo seems to be the one that I keep going to for comparisons. I'm going to open up surely I can open up a god tab here really quick and just think about other mages that would use this well. Honestly, a character like Vulcan, Zhang Kui would be a good one that I could see it being good on. Zhang Kui does well with Bancroft, and he kind of gets in there. That type of stuff. Maybe Zhang bangs with that thing. Hades, yeah, Hades is a good one. I could maybe see like a Baron or something like that. Opwash, you guys know Opwash is nice with it. Love that little guy. So yeah, anyways, interesting item. It's hard for me to gauge, like, just by the numbers of this. It's hard for me to tell how good I think this is. This is the sort of thing where it's really going to be like a feel thing. I'm going to have to play with it or play against it and feel how big of an impact it has. Executioner should inherit the Jotun's Ferocity one. So yeah, just the same thing. Your next base attack, if you yep, just Jotun's Ferocity, the same thing. That's a really cool icon. I actually like that icon a lot. I like both these icons a lot. So yeah, it's just the physical version. Magical characters get Bancrofts. Physical characters get Executioner. So now each of them kind of have two different subsets of characters that would want to use it. Also, as a slight note, I like a lot that Executioner is getting it, because Executioner has kind of been power creeped for ADCs by Silver Branch Bow. At least for your own damage, it's just better. Obviously, Executioner debuffs for your teammates, but generally speaking, Silver Branch has just been considered a better item for a while now. So I like that Executioner is the one getting the glyphs to kind of give it like that late game push, or that like extra investment push. Anyways, the heavy Executioner, basic attacks against an enemy reduce your target's physical protection by 17.5 for 3 seconds, max of 2 stacks, so slightly more pen. Your attack speed is capped at 1.75. Silver Branch will still only provide power from the passive once you have exceeded 2.5 attack speed. Silver Branch passive text has been updated to reflect this. Okay. That's really interesting. So essentially, imagine a character like Uller, who's ability-based. I don't know why you would buy that. Would you buy this over Titan's Bane on Uller if you're comboing people? Maybe a character like Chiron's a better example. Where you're like kind of weaving stuff in between your auto attacks, but you're still good with autos or something like that. No, you can't stack the glyphs. You can't stack heavy Executioner and normal Executioner. Okay, so basically you would buy Executioner on a character that's kind of like a hybrid character. Let's say Chiron, let's say Neith, where Titan's Bane you could do, but you, like, Neith, you would probably want Titans just for your op. But anyways, like, I don't know, this is so weird, the characters you'd buy it. Essentially, you just get more pen, right? It lets you get more than 20% pen for the item. Now you're getting 36% pen. Wait, 70, 30, yeah, 35% pen. So Smite, nice, nailed it. Yeah, now you're getting 35% pen off of the 2 autos, which is huge, but you're just capping your attack speed. You probably don't want to upgrade this until you have so much... The differences would either be you have so much power from your silver branch, or you already are at that point in the game where you just upgrade this anyways and you don't care. I don't know, man. That's a weird item. It's really interesting. Again, I just have to play against it and see. Nem slaps with this? Nem's actually a pretty good character for that. I don't dislike that at all. Yeah, I could see that. Like, maybe as like a serrated alternative. It's funny that the good examples would be an assassin and not a hunter. But that does make sense. Like, a character like Nem, you definitely could, like, go stone cutting XE Hydras. Like, that would just be, like, a good build, and this would make that build even better. That could be really cool, actually. Scream posed a good question. The debuff could stack on 2 objectives. Oh, I see what you're saying. That definitely could happen. That definitely could happen. They should probably make sure that can't happen. But yes, if 2 different people had XE and one of them had heavy XE, that would be nuts, the amount of objective shred you could get if those do stack. Magi's cloak. Magi's is the defense item. So we had magical damage item, physical damage item, now defense item that got new glyphs. Magi shelter. When your passive is consumed, the nearest allied god within 25 units gains protections from a single hard crowd control effect for 5 seconds. If this passive is consumed before time runs out, they gain 1 second of crowd control immunity. Basically, it's just a pass it on effect, you know? You just take a hit, pass it on, and that's a standard practice, really, at any party that I've ever been to. Jesus Christ. That's a standard practice, and it's pretty cool. I think it's nice to... God damn it. I can't take myself seriously. Yeah, I don't know. It's a cool glyph. It's cool against any sort of, like, blink alt sort of character. Like, imagine like being blink shing 10 alted and you get your Magi's proc and then you give someone else a Magi's proc. It's just pretty good, so I'm definitely a fan of that. Magi's Revenge. The first enemy god hit you with a hard crowd control while you are protected becomes marked for revenge for 5. I'm liking the sound of this already. For 5 seconds. Gods marked for revenge cause enemy gods within 40 units to move 20% faster to them and take 10% increased damage. That is fucking broken. The first thing I was going to talk about with Magi's getting glyphs, Magi's is not like the most commonly built defense item because it's very, very health heavy. And there's a lot of characters that can proc Magi's very easily. Think things like Bologna Disarm is just like point click, instantly it's off you, that sort of stuff. Having glyphs on the item helps you get a benefit from those sort of things. Past like the little mini game where you're like you have to protect your Magi's and they have to try to proc it before a fight. Like if they play that game and they get marked for revenge, it just gives you a good window where you can actually just gun them down. Like imagine a Bologna trying to stand like around a fire giant dance and freaking disarm you to take off your Magi's, and now the whole squad is in there. That is so cool. That is so cool. I really, really like that. I think it'll be interesting to see how this shifts builds. You know, if you just think about standard support items, stuff like Thebes, Pride Wind, you know, Spirit Robe, Magi's actually fits into that build quite well. In my opinion, Spirit Robe is the best tank item in the game for a support, just very quick, gives you a lot of stats that you want. The combo of being able to go Spirit Robe and Magi's, it kind of balances out just like a really good level of procs, a really good level of health, all that sort of stuff. Same thing with Pride Wind, whatever. Getting extra health from that, balancing out your build, and also getting a good glyph effect like this, I really like that. I'm really excited to play with this one. And there's going to be plenty of like niche characters or counters that you can do with this depending on how their team wants to engage, where Shelter could be better. Think of something like a Dajiot, right? Like, I could be wrong. If I was getting Dajioted, okay? Let's say my carry has no beads, okay? And the Daji goes up one of the Palal. If I stand right on top of my carry and I have Magi's on me, Will it give us both CC immunity? I feel like it shouldn't, because it'll pop my bubble and then give... Actually, it would work. It would work from the pool. It would immune the pool. That's sick. Okay, so this could be a... So Daji would be a good example. If they have a Daji and you have a Magi Shelter, you should actually want to stack on your teammates, because if they try to hit your teammates, you're going to give them crowd control immunity, so you're basically giving them another copy of beads. That is really, really cool. Fuck Daji as well. Hate Daji. Anyways, moving on. The new masks. All masks in the current iteration are removed. Pour one out. The new masks will not be starter items. Maybe pour one back in. Protector's Mask, starter item, only purchasable by mage, assassin, and hunters. Same thing that it was already. 125 health, 100 mana. That's a lot of base stats, actually. A lot of base stats. Decreased damage dealt by 6, plus decreased damage taken. So basically, this is just the Lona's effect, but it scales throughout the game based on your level. Your damage doesn't get hit as hard early on, but the damage you do doesn't get hit as hard early on, but you also don't take as little damage early on, so it's less of a huge power spike, or a huge like power shift, and it just kind of gradually scales that way, based off of, you know, if you wanted to play like a Nox support, for example, you could go that early. Can be upgraded at level 15. This is a big change for all support items. They can all be upgraded at level 15, so when we were talking about the support bonus XP going from 35 to 40% bonus. This is a huge deal. Not only do you get 5% more XP as a support, you also can upgrade your starter item 2 levels earlier. So just a huge deal for support to be able to actually, you know, build items. We are excited about that. Getting the assist for an enemy minion or jungle monster dying will provide 8 bonus gold and restore 15 health and 15 mana. Basically, just Sentinel's effect. Okay, and then here's the upgrade, which is Lona's Mask, only purchasable by mage, assassin, hunters. 300 health, 200 mana, 10% CCR. It's actually currently 20% CCR, and it has prots on it, so it does not have that. Gain 5 stacks of cowardice. Each stack reduces your damage dealt and healing output by 10%. For each 60 protection from items, remove a stack of cowardice. Oh, okay. So basically, when you remove a stack of cowardice, gain a stack of bravery. For each stack of bravery, gain 3% damage mitigation and provide several magical and physical protections to ally guides. Okay, so essentially what this means is that the tankier you are, the less the penalty of how much damage you do is actually applying to you. But it's removing that penalty because you don't do any fucking damage because you're full tank, if that makes sense. The aura is basically 35 prots capped, right? Yeah, 35 prots capped of each, so pretty comparable to something like a Sentinel's Embrace. But it also gives damage mitigation, so it's kind of like a combo between damage mitigation and prot. Very interesting. The biggest thing I'm going to mention about this, okay? The upgrade, not having gold generation, could be pretty relevant, and I think will be relevant, because you guys will see later on, but there's at least 2 support starters that give you gold in the late game. I guess if you want to count War Flag, it gives you that as well. Missing out on gold per 5 or gold generation at level 15 is still a big deal. It still matters. It doesn't matter as much as it would earlier, so at least the gold is on the initial version of it, but it still does matter. I'm definitely interested in trying this item. I think it's really cool. But no procs on the base version could be relevant, and then also not having gold income. So I think it's cool. It might honestly be weaker for support. I think the ability to just buy Lonos as an item with a starter item likely would have been stronger than having it as a starter item. So this might be a nerf. But we'll see. Fighter's Mask, only purchasable by Warriors and Guardians, so the same thing. 10% CDR on the starter. That is kind of sick. HP5 power, okay. Increase the damage dealt. Increase damage taken. This seems like it's more geared, like the HP5 makes me think it's more geared to like a solo lane sort of thing. I don't know if you guys remember the tier 2 ranked as mass start last year. But that kind of seems like it's more like what it's geared towards. Interesting. This item grants 2 MP5 for 10% of your missing mana, so basically like a Sands of Time sort of thing. Is that not just like the Sands of Time passive, basically? So it's basically just for physical casters to be a mage. Ranged Mask upgrade from Fighter's Mask. Power. This power seems really low for magical power. So for a Guardian, that power is really low. 60 physical power for a Warrior is actually quite substantial, though. 10% CDR, so the CDR actually doesn't go up. I was expecting that to be 20. Gain 5 stacks of weakness, so same sort of thing. The more power you have, the less extra damage you're going to take. That's actually way stronger than the Ranged one, isn't it? Yeah, that's way stronger. So with the Lonos one, the more prot you have built, the more damage you're allowed to deal, but you're not going to deal any damage anyways because you don't have any damn power. For this one, the more power you have built, you're just not really getting the negative effect. So you're just going to do a ton of damage. That's kind of crazy. What's the cap on this? It should just be... When you remove a stack and gain a stack of strength... Okay, it's just this. For each stack of strength, you get 3% damage out and 2% movement speed. So it can be 15% damage dealt and 10% movement speed. That is sick. Getting that much... What is that? 315? Wait, am I crazy? No, 325? That's right, right? So you have to get 325 physical power to receive the full benefit without being sapped or weakness, whatever, without taking more damage. The way I would see people building this, honestly, is maybe by not even starting with it. Like, I could see a character going like a trans or a soul eater rush or something like that, and treating this the way you would treat like a Bumba's hammer, where you only buy it at level 20 when you already have a ton of power, so that you're just not taking extra damage. But then when you like the stacks of strength is crazy. Like damage and movement speed increase is really, really nuts. And it's a CDR late game as well. I could see it being bought like that for sure. And I see it being way stronger in Warriors than I do on Guardians. If you're a Guardian, I don't really know why you would want to build this over Conduit Gem. Like, I think Conduit Gem would just do everything that you want without the negatives a lot better. Personally, I would just think Conduit's better. But I could be wrong. This to me seems like a very specific warrior like laning item that would be very niche on a character like Wukong, who's kind of like a physical caster. That would be the type of character I would consider buying this on, but interesting either way. I would say the Fighter's Mask and Rangda's Mask is just straight up better. Currently, it's pretty much unbuyable. It doesn't get picked up ever. Jorm, I just think you would rather have Conduit Gem or like Arrow or something on Jorm. I could be wrong. I'm definitely interested to see how it gets bought. But anyways, this change, definitely better for Rangda's. I think it might be worse for Lonos. I could be wrong. I'm definitely going to have to play with it. But my gut reaction to this is that I would rather have Sentinels or Compassion or Benevolence and then also be able to buy Lonos. That's kind of how I see it, but I could be wrong and could be fun. New item tree, Mystical Earrings, 400 gold, really cheap starter, by the way, 15 MP5. 1300 gold tier 2. You keep the 15 MP5, get 15% attack speed, 30 magical, 20 physical power. Again, this power stuff, I guess it's a little more balanced, but I swear this seems better for physicals. Or Jeweled Stud, so a second branch of the tree, 1400 gold instead of 1300. A lot more power for just 100 gold if you look at these. 10% CDR, 20 MP5. So the cooldown version already looks better to me. And then tier 2, Rose Spikes, Earrings. Okay, so there's just 3 different tier 2s. Okay. This builds into Sphinx's Bauble, into Griffin. Okay, so this each, I didn't read this line. Griffin Wing, Sphinx's, Manticore Spike, or Fablest Hoops. Health, HP 5. So this looks like more of a tank one. Okay. So Griffin Wing, Earrings, 2200 gold. This is off of the attack speed one. 40 magical power, 40 physical, 60 magical power, 25% attack speed, 15 MP5. Basic attack projectile speed increased by 40%. Basic attack damage reduced by 15%. Class locked to hunters and mages only. This is actually really cool. Visualizing it if you need. Ooh, I'm really interested in seeing this. So basically, it's going to make your auto attacks hit scan. Oh, this is... Okay, this is just the tree. This is the tree. Yeah. I thought you were showing me a clip row, but this is still nice. So yeah, this is the tree. So this right one right here, this is the auto attack one that we're looking at. And it just basically makes your auto attacks hit scan, but they're going to do less damage. It'll be like a... It'll essentially be like, imagine like X-Ball ulting or Hachi ulting from max range and then like having it be hit scan. That could be really cool. Realistically, I think that's like a for fun item. Like if you're a for fun gamer, you're going to buy Griffin Wing earrings. If you're a for sweat gamer, you probably won't buy it. Sphinx's baubles. Baubles? Baubles? How do you say that word? Guys, I'm not an English guy. This builds off of the cooldown one. 55 physical power, 80 magical power, 10% CDR, 30 MP5. Cooldown reduction cap increased from 40 to 60%. Ability damage dealt decreased from 20. Ability healing. So basically, this is like a Lono's effect, right? The current Lono's effect, not the new one. You do less damage, less healing, but you get more CDR. I can't imagine any damage dealer would ever want to buy this. This seems like a support luxury 6 item to me, instead of something like a Chronos Pendant. So imagine you go through a normal build. Let's say you have a, let's say you're a support. Let's say you have a 20% CDR item, whether it's Chronos or Pride Win or Breastplate. Maybe you have a Spirit Robe in there. Maybe you have some random crap like a Relic Dagger or Witchblade or whatever. You already have 40% CDR. You buy this if the game goes to 75 minutes and you actually get full build. You'll now buy this. It might, because the patch maybe instead of 75 minutes, it'll be 60 minutes. You actually get full build. You can afford a 6 item. You buy this and you get a 500 pot. Now you have 60% CDR. It could be really cool, honestly. It could be really, really cool. So, yeah, I see this as a support luxury item. I don't expect to see mages or damage dealers buy it. I feel the same about the Griffin Wing earrings. I don't expect hunters to buy this. I don't expect mages to buy this one. This seems like a... this one is a for fun item. This one is a luxury support item that could be really nuts on characters that would abuse it. Those characters would be stuff like any like huge cooldown support. Yamoja, Sylve with his passive. Think about all the little seeds you could pick up. How crazy would that be? Mana Core spikes, so then both of these build off the other tree, which gave health, HP 5, MP 5, 1200 gold. Actually really decent stats for 1200 gold, by the way. Mana Core spikes bring a new type of gameplay loop item to Smite. I can't read. Hitting an enemy with a hard CC will drop a buff that you or your ally can pick up. This is an item that will make you take an extra step or two, depending on how far away the target was, in order to get the full benefit, but you are rewarded nicely for jumping through the extra hoop. Okay. 350 HP, 30 HP 5, 20 MP 5, 20% crowd control reduction. Really good stats without having prots for like a tank. When you hit an enemy god with a hard crowd control, they drop a spike on the ground. When you or an ally pick up that spike, they gain a buff that causes their next ability to deal bonus damage equal to 3% of their maximum health. This effect is doubled if you are the one who picks up the spike. Spikes last 7 seconds, cannot stack. Picking up another spike when you have the buff refreshes the duration. Okay. This would be good in a tank party where basically you're diving with another tank and you have this item, and then if either of you are picking up these spikes, you're just doing bonus damage. So yeah, ability combos could make sense, like Ymir Freeze and Ymir 2, stuff like that could help you. The spike is off of where the enemy is. Yeah, they drop a spike on the ground. So the spike is picked up from the enemy. So the enemy's here, you're here, you hit them, spike's here, you have to run here, and then you just bam, spank them again. Seems pretty interesting. Again, this is an item where I'd have to see like how it feels, but it's a really cool item. I think all of these items are really cool in this tree, so it's definitely exciting to play with at the very least. Of the 3 that we've seen so far, this is the only one that I could actually see. Well, actually, not the only one. This is the only one that I could just not really see being built. But the spikes could actually be really cool. And this stat line is not bad at all. If you have other prot-heavy items, again, like a Spirit Robe, like a Pridwin, stuff like that, Mantle, I could definitely see this rounding out that sort of build really nicely. So definitely interesting. I'm pretty sure these are broken, by the way. Fae Blessed Hoops. 300 health, 20 HP 5, 40 MP 5. So again, lots of health, lots of regen. No CCR on this one. Each time an allied god dies within 70 units of you, or you heal an allied god with an ability, this is the big one, or you heal an allied god with an ability, a flower drops from your ally that can be picked up by you or an allied god. Picking up the flower gives that god a shield equal to 7.5% of their max HP. Does not stack. New shield refreshes duration. Thank God that exists at least. Flowers last 7 seconds on the ground. Okay. This is really cool. The first part of this effect, each time an ally god dies within 70 units of you, is not really the part that matters, okay? The part that matters, if you are a healer and you buy this item, think about a Emoji, okay? If I Emoji, I'm going to heal my whole team, okay? Every single one of my teammates is going to drop one of these flowers, okay? So I'm going to heal my whole team and shield my whole team. I'm going to drop a flower, and then I'm going to shield them even more. Or I'm going to Sylph heal them, give them procs, and then shield them even more. And I can spam this shit. There is no internal cooldown on this. So if I am in the middle of a fight, and I am spamming Emoji on people, okay? And I have this item for 2,200 gold only, by the way. So you could rush this item, potentially, because the stats are just good. Like, a lot of HP 5, a lot of health, whatever. If you have this, you're just getting a ton of shielding for your healing. And the shielding is not applied, or is not affected by anti-heal. If you anchor something after the shield's already on them, sure, you can take down the shield a little bit. But this seems really nuts to me. Like, if you're in a fight, like, imagine, like, I'm just going to give an example where it's like a hard commit fight. Imagine playing a character like Zhang Kui, where you're like constantly doing damage with your ult, and the enemy team is just getting like Emoji-tu'd over and over, and they just keep picking up these stupid flowers, and every time your ult ticks away one of their shield, they just get another shield. Like, this is crazy, man. This is so crazy. This item, to me, I think has a very high chance of absolutely breaking the game at a competitive level. Along with the brawling change that happened earlier in this patch, there's a really high chance that I think you see a lot of healers because of this. The two that come to my mind the quickest are Yamoja, because you can spam your heal ability over and over, and Sylv, because he has a lot of cooldown reduction. But I'm sure a character like Hell could use this. I'm sure, you know, it just seems nuts. Physicals can buy this too, right? This isn't locked. It's off of this one. Surely physicals can buy this. I think the only one that's class locked is the Griffin Wing is Hunters and Mages only. Yeah. Yeah, this seems nuts. This seems absolutely broken. Guan is a good one. Guan's a really good one. Chang'e, I could see. I don't see Baron as much. I see you wanting this on... Dude, this with Guan would be crazy. You're just going to get permanent shielding, man. This thing's broken. I'm telling you guys right now, this thing's broken. A little birdie told me that the item used to be even better, and it was really broken then. It's going to be broken. I swear this item is going to be broken. Item balance. Decreased anti-heal debuff duration from 6 to 5. Hold on, fellas. Did I miss the memo? Do we want healers broken? Who woke up and decided chaos would emerge from this world? Every anti-heal item, debuff duration from 6 to 5 seconds, matches the brawling change. But this actually is making healers look pretty nuts. Get ready for some healing, guys. Bumbit's Hammer, an item that people have felt is OP for a very long time. The old stats, 300 health, 200 mana, 20% CDR. You know what it is. 80 true damage. Cooldown to reduced by 1 second, healed for 5% of your max HP. This item has been broken on tanks, mainly. Tank junglers, stuff like, you know, Demon build Gilgamesh. Stuff like solo laners now waiting for level 20 and then getting it. That's what this has been broken on. So the new changes are going to be to gear it towards higher damage characters, specifically junglers who would actually want to buy it and build damage. So now, instead of these stats, it has power, half the health, no mana, half the cooldown reduction. After casting an ability, your next basic attack deals an additional 80 true damage. Same thing. After hitting a basic attack empowered by Bumbit's Hammer, you have non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 1 second, and you are healed for 120 health. So the heal, I think the break-even, I was told, was 2,400 health. So I'm just going to double check that. This should be 120. It's 120. 2400 health is the break even. That is when the healing is the same. So if you have 2400 health or less, which would be any full damage assassin, basically, or any full damage jungler, auto attacker, whatever, then the heal will actually be better for you. If you are a bruiser or a tank character, the heal will be worse, and it won't apply to your ultimate. Not applying to your ult is actually a big deal. You'd see it a lot on a character like Poseidon that builds it a lot right now, where he'll just Kraken at the start of a fight and then get a million Bumbus procs and then Kraken at the end of the fight. And it just becomes really oppressive in that way. The item will get worse because it's on a full damage character. Like, the reason Bumbas was so good on tanks wasn't only because the maximum health kind of benefited them. It was because you could actually sit in the fight long enough to spam farm procs off of it. If you're a full damage character, you can't just stay in combat the whole fight. There's a much higher chance that people will actually kill you if you stay in front of them, that carries can actually kill you. In a 1v1 scenario, it'll still be very, very strong. It should just be a little bit less oppressive. So overall, I like the changes. Amulet of the Stronghold. Increase the conversion rate of the passive from 10 to 15%, so just a buff to the Heartward glyphs. Reduce internal cooldown from the silence from 45 to 30 seconds, so again, slight buffs to the Heartward glyphs. In my opinion, the Breastplate and the Magi's cloak ones are the better upgrades for tanks, so I don't imagine this coming into play that much. I could be wrong. There will definitely be times where you will want these. Amulet of Silence definitely has like niche counters to stuff like a Khepri, where Khepri could like pluck you and you could auto attack him while you're plucked and then, you know, break the pluck, that type of stuff. But they're very niche. In a normal game, you'd rather go like the Magi's cloaks, glyphs, or whatever. Support starter items now be upgraded to level 15. Thank God. I can actually upgrade my items probably most games now. Increase the bonus gold trigger from 7 to 8 on Sentinels. So not only do we get starter items upgrade earlier, but we also get more XP. We get 5% more XP, and we get more gold. So they're starting to get it. Support needs a little bit of help. I'm feeling nice about that. Sentinels embrace gold per 5. Fuck it. Why not? What was the difference between Boon and Embrace? The difference was that Boon gave you gold. Not anymore. Embrace now gives you gold. This makes Boon a lot worse. Now the only reason to buy Boon, in my opinion, is for sieging specifically. When you are tanking a Phoenix as a support and then wave spawn, you basically get like full healed off every single wave that your team clears for you with Boon. That's really the only added benefit. Other than that, Sentinel's Embrace is just better. And most games you'll just see people just go Embrace between the two. It's just better. So yeah, gold per 5. Fuck it. Why not? Also, this is what I was alluding to earlier with the... if you compare this to Lono's earlier, right? I'm going to have to scroll up a bit. If you compare it to Lono's, Embrace is also giving my team an aura. Granted, it's not giving them damage mitigation. Damage mitigation is very, very strong. But gold per 5 for myself is a really big deal. Like, imagine the gold per 5 on Sentinels is the difference between me getting, like, the cooldown item late game or something like that. Like, it could just... You just can't really, like... There's so much stuff that you want to spend gold on as support. Like, you're investing 1,600 gold to fully upgrade both of your relics most games. You're going to spend another 600 to get a glyph. You're buying the most wards on the team, and you're already having the least farm. Gold mechanics are just invaluable. It's why you don't buy War Flag. War Flag is absolute trash because it doesn't give you gold. It can't stay relevant compared to the other starter items. So while I think Lono's could be strong, I would much rather have Sentinel's Embrace that gives me gold per 5 plus Compassion, or Compassion that gives me gold per 5 plus Lono's. I'd way rather have that than have it set up the way that it is now. So that's the only support nerf in the whole patch, potentially. Relic Dagger increased relic cooldown reduction from 30 to 40 seconds. This is what it used to be, and then it got nerfed. So it's reverted, basically. Very strong. Only downside I would say with this is that there's going to be a lot of games where you're going to be enticed to build the Magi's glyphs now, and you don't really want two items that are nothing but health. And not to mention that, but like if you're a healer, the Blessed Hoops is also only health. So you can't just build a bunch of items that are only health. You'll get farmed by Soul Reaver and Kins. So you probably are only going to get one, maybe two of those items. So because of that, I think Relic Dagger has a lot more competition than it had in the past, but it's still very strong. Tyrannical Plate Helm increased the minion buff from 20% health and attack speed to 25%. I'm not a soul laner. I don't care about this. I don't like to play the little Sobek game where you're buffing your creeps to clear the wave because you can't do it yourself. I don't care about this. Mail Renewal. Increase physical and magical prot from 20 to 30. I actually think Mail Renewal is a really underbought item. There is a lot of times where this item, if the enemy team does not want to go anti-heal for your comp, you know they're not going to go anti-heal, maybe you have no in-kit healing or anything like that, Renewal can actually be a huge item in the early game. Like, if you guys ever try going Mail of Renewal when you know they're not going to go anti-heal, the amount of healing that it can give you and your team is actually really, really crazy. In my opinion, a somewhat underbought item outside of competitive play. In competitive play, there tends to just be anti-healing every single game. But yeah, definitely a sleeper item, and I would recommend trying this change a lot. It might surprise you how good the item feels. Sledge increased CCR from 20 to 30. Huh? I thought we were done with the 30% CCR, but I mean, sure. Interesting. I think from a support perspective, it doesn't really help stuff too much. I think the day of like hybrid supports is kind of a little bit behind us for physical characters, at least. Like Chronos Pendant's a little different because it's like a CDR item and you're just like support and guardians to scale off cooldown a lot. Yeah, it's interesting, but I'm not thinking Sledge is just broken or anything, but it definitely is really interesting. Shield of Regrowth passive now adds 15 physical power and 30 magical power for the... Okay, Regrowth meta, baby. Let's get this shit. Hell yeah. Guys, Regrowth on Baron is a staple in this household, and now it's an even bigger staple. We're loving this. I'm going to do a little bit of power. Oh my gosh, you imagine this on like Naja? Okay, we got to be looking at all the characters this can be good on, guys. This has got to be nice. Give me the Guardians. Fafnir? Oh, I'm going to be farming on Fafnir. Sobek's moving fast. Dude, I'm just moving fast. Terra? I get to ult and get more power. My ult's going to hit even harder. Just sort of running around. God, that's nice. Okay, we love that. Really liking that. And then, yeah, obviously Herc is like the regrowth guy. Pythag, removed 10% magic pen, added 10% cooldown, and 50 more health. Basically reverting it to what the item used to be. The item used to be a good support item to buff your team. And then it basically got a lot worse because it didn't give you stats that you cared about because you didn't want the 10% pen, you want 10% CDR. This item is going to be really crazy. I think I could see Guardians rushing this, like Conduit Gem Guardians rushing this in Soul Lane, for example. I could definitely see that happening. For support, I think it'll be a little bit more niche than it was in the past, just because there are a lot of different items. The new item tree, plus the Magi stuff, plus Relic Dagger, all this other crap that I'm talking about. There's a lot of health items that give you a lot of benefits. I'm not sure that you'll actually want Pythags that much, but the aura on it is really, really powerful, so I could be wrong. I would expect a lot of Soul Laners to build this. There's a lot of Guardians that are being played in Soul Lane, and I'd expect a lot of Guardian Soul Lane players like Ardios and Sobeks and all that type of crap to build Pythags. And there will definitely be some mages who want this, who would rather have the cooldown, so definitely really interesting. Staff of Mirrodin, old passive removed. Again, man, unlucky. It's such a fun item. When your ultimate ability has finished casting, you gain Mirrodin's Rage, which provides 25% increased damage. Okay, hold on now. Decaying to 2.5% increased damage over 8 seconds. At the end of the 8 seconds, you lose Mirrodin's Rage. So this is basically a personal frenzy. That's what this is, right? There's a frenzy that gives you attack speed and damage increase, and it slowly like tapers off. It seems like it's just that, but for yourself. So I don't know. To me, this seems weaker than the cooldown versions, but I wouldn't be surprised if you just see like one-shot macro characters that use this stuff. Definitely interesting. Dude, imagine using this, like, if you ult in as, like, if you, like, blink ulted as Hebo and then, like, knock up one of them, just all of your abilities are going to do 1,000 damage. Like, that could be pretty crazy. Yeah, like Janus, you like portal through a wall, get in there, that type of stuff. That could be really cool, for sure. So yeah, just honestly, Mirrodin, just the stats on it. 105 power, 10% CDR, and 10% pen. That alone is just good. Like, it's just a good item stat-wise, and having this sort of passive, I'm sure this could be really good. It probably will be better than the old passive. The old passive was so fun. Nerf to Opwash, the current most broken character in the game, has been nerfed. Absolutely tragic. Well, hold on, he's been buffed with the regrowth now, so okay, I sort of see what they did there. They were worried about Pwash being hurt too much, and they kind of buffed him elsewhere. That's nice. Celestial Legion Helm, 4% crit damage reduction per stack. Okay, so that Bruiser Guardians are allowed to do damage and reduce crit damage that they take. It, like, the stacks decay. That's how Celestial works, right? It's hard for me to tell how good this item is. Very, very niche. I'd assume this isn't super meta. Very interesting. If you want anti-crit, you're just going to build Spectral, right? Like, the only time this would be built, I think, is if it was already a good item, and I haven't seen it be built that much. Maybe people are sleeping on it. I would imagine this change doesn't matter that much, but it's interesting. Bracer of Illumination, buff duration increase from 8 to 12 seconds. Don't buy it, guys. It's just the worst Bracer. You just don't buy it. You just buy the other Bracer that actually does something in combat. Drawn Donk increases the miasma damage from 2% current HP to 4% current HP. Again, guys, the other one's just better. You know why the other one's better? Because it sunders them. It literally sunders them. It just deals 20%. It makes them take 20% more damage, and they don't have to sit still for it to happen. Like, it's just better. So, it's trying to buff niche relics. I think they're still just worse than their counterparts. I'll test the Drown Donk one, but I'm pretty sure it's just worse. Cloak of the Out, especially consider that you're like Ankin somebody who has the Fabless Hoops thing. Their shield is gonna outvalue your stupid Drown Donk. The shield that they get will do more than your damage from your full upgrade relic. Just buy the other one. Okay, just buy the other one. Cloak of the Avatar increased the knockback strength by 33%. Again, when you're building meditation, by the stage that you'd actually have this upgraded, people probably have anti-heal, unless you're playing like a Mail of Renewal meditation build where people, for some reason, don't build anti-heal even when they see you build that because they didn't want anti-heal for your comp or something. I don't know. Super niche scenario. But even then, the cooldown reduction one's just better. It's fine. Like, CC on a relic could be fine, but I just think it's niche. I think if you're... Normally, the person buying med will be a support, and the whole, like, blink med combo to engage is definitely not as good as other stuff. Chaotic Bead changed passive from 7% current health as magical damage to 5% current health as true damage. That will be a buff. A lot of the time... It'll be a buff all the time, actually, pretty much, because everybody got more magical prot on patch 9.5. So that should just be a buff. Again, the cooldown one's probably better, but it's decent. You don't really full upgrade beads like that, because carries aren't support, so they don't have to waste gold on their relics. Decrease health threshold for Tremble to occur from 30% max HP to 15% max HP. You just get the Tremble earlier, that's all it is. If I see anyone build this over the Emblem of Increasing Peril or whatever the hell it is, I'm gonna frickin' rage. The other one is so broken. Please do not buy this over it. The other one's so broken. I understand that Trembles are no longer hard CCs, they're soft CCs, and it's not gonna get DR'd. I get it, okay? I get it. Buy the other one, okay? It's broken. Making people do 45% less damage, you may be interested to know this, it's fucking broken. Sundering Blast fixed a bug where the incorrect Sunder icon was being used to represent the cooldown. Sure. Increased target's damage increased from 5 to 7.5%. Sunder generally, I think, is just weak. Like, Ankh is literally a better Sunder effect than the Sunder itself. Again, it's nice to see buffs to the niche relics, but the other ones are just better, I think. Sunder is the one of all of these that I think has the best chance to maybe be bought more. Specifically because you are seeing some shielding buffs from the healing item, and if a character like Nike comes back, you'll just want to Sunder for a Nike anyways. Thorns of Overgrowth increase the radius of the passive from 55 to 70 units. Okay, so you'll just get more stacks of the attack speed and, you know, whatever steal. Update Silver Branch to include that. Okay, it's just letting people know that their attack speed caps at 2.5. That's it. Okay. This is a big change. God, this is going to take freaking an hour to go through. Diminishing returns DR. DR stacks will now be a physical icon on the buff bar. That's very cool. Max stack count increased from 2 to 4. So the stacks are doubled, but the CCR per stack is decreased. So the total effect is the same, but the stacks are increased. Stacks of DR last for 15 seconds. That's how it has always been. Can no longer be applied to yourself or your allies. This is very niche, but for example, something like Yamoja 3 if your allies walk through that, it would actually apply a stack of DR. So if they walked through your Emoji 3 and then they got stunned by an enemy, the stun would actually last less amount of time. So basically you can't break it for your teammates. That's it. Fixed many code-driven displacement abilities that previously did not apply DR. There will be a list of all that stuff later. Hard CC is now defined as crowd control that makes it impossible to do at least one of the following actions: basic attack, non-movement abilities, and movement input. Hard CCs apply 1 stack of DR, so 1 of the 4 stacks, and their durations are affected by the number of DR stacks a player has. So roots are now considered a hard CC. That's all it is. I think roots and stuns, they don't have stuns listed here, but I'm pretty sure it is roots and stuns are hard CCs that only apply 1 stack of DR, so they apply 20% crowd control reduction to an enemy. And then a true hard CC is a new subclass of hard CCs defined. You don't need to understand, or I'm not going to read all of it. It applies 2 stacks, okay? Hard CC is 1 stack, true hard CC is 2 stacks. That's displacement stuff. Pull, knock up, knockbacks, grabs, banishes, and then polymorphs are also in here, but you'll see this a little bit later. Polymorphs are actually currently bugged with this change. They're still only doing 1 stack, but in the future they will apply 2 stacks. So imagine just a standard knockup, a Hebo knockup currently right now would give you 1 out of 2 stacks for 40% CCR. Just to keep that the same, it's going to apply 2 stacks. So now a Hebo knockup will give you 2 stacks of the 4 at 20%, so it's going to be 40, so it's the same thing. But this is just going to make it so that roots can now also apply DR and all that type of stuff. So now if you knock up into a root, which you could do with Sylve, for example, so you could blink Sylve out and then root them off of it. In the past, it would be knock up is 1 stack, root actually wouldn't apply a stack, so it's a little bit different, so I guess I'm wrong on this. But anyways, Sylve would do knock up, that's 2 stacks for 20%, so 40%. You root them, that's another stack at 20%, so now it's 60% DR. That's just how it would work. There's like Horus combo you could think of. Just knockups in general will just apply 2 stacks of CC, or of DR, not CC. This is the big one. Soft CCs are now defined as any crowd control that makes it more difficult to do a specific action. Intoxicate and Trembles are now soft CCs. So a Bach Assault, soft CCs are not affected and do not apply DR, okay? So when I Bach Assault somebody, they will not get affected by the crowd control or by the DR crowd control reduction, and it will not apply it. So I can blink Bach Assault people, and if they do not have built-in CCR, so for example, if you have Spirit Robe and you have 20% CCR, it won't be 6 seconds, okay? The crowd control reduction from items and DR stacks are 2 different things, okay? So if you have crowd control reduction in your items, if you have Spirit Robe, Wing Blades, Sledge, stuff like that, my Bach Assault will not last as long. But if you are a carry and you probably don't have any of that built, my Bach Assault is now going to tremble you, or it's going to intoxicate you for 6 seconds. That's pretty fucking good, by the way. That's pretty nuts. Individual abilities can apply more than 2 stacks of DR if the ability includes multiple types of CCs. Stuff like that would be things like On Her Impale, but this will be listed here. On Her Impale, Ares Alt, Daji Alt, Awilix Alt, and Gilgamesh Dropkick, where it has a displacement and a stun, that type of stuff. They can now apply way more stacks of DR. I believe their stun durations have been buffed, is what this is saying. Yeah, increased duration of the effective CCs. So these characters are getting their stun durations increased to account for the changes, so that they're not actually affected. But they will apply more stacks of DR for your teammates. So their ability to start a chain CC is worse, but the actual ability itself should feel the same in isolation. And then known issues with the polymorph stuff I was talking about. God changes. Akwang, decreased time it takes to gain a stack from 12 to 10 seconds on your passive. Increased magical power scaling from 60 to 70%. That's all good and well, but however, there's many cases where you Akwang alt somebody and then you don't actually execute them. And until that changes, I'm pretty skeptical. However, he is one of the better characters at using the Bancroft glyphs that we saw earlier. That is the biggest buff in this patch for Akwang, so that alone might make him a lot better, and he's definitely like a pretty pub stompy character. So he could be interesting, but I'm still skeptical. Cerberus, increase the healing reduction applied to enemies from 20 to 25% on your passive, and increase the base damage of your spit. Probably just gonna see him in Soul Lane a lot because of the conduit gem buffs and all of that. So you get ready for a lot more of the big dog. I can't speak, but you get it. Cupid, Heart Bomb, increase damage on the minions from 50 to 60%, so just more clear for him, and increase the heal on his hearts. We love healing, apparently, which is interesting in this patch, but sure, fuck it, why not? Discordia, increase the damage from 60 to 220 to 80 to 240, just helping Mage clear a little bit, and decrease the cooldown of her erratic behavior. This is her 3, I believe, so her escape is 1 second shorter, and she does a little bit more damage. I feel like Disco is slightly slept on. I feel like she's actually just a fine character, and this will help her early game a lot. 20 damage in the early game, that's the part of this buff that matters a lot. The 220 to 240 late game, like, sure, it's 20 damage and it's nice, but 20 damage at level 1 is a lot. Like, that's a lot. So, yeah, pretty big. You'll see a lot more Disco. Hera. Hera's broken already. We all know this. We're aware of it. Commanding Presence, increase the cooldown reduction on Argus from 1 to 1.5 seconds. And increase the cooldown reduction on Commanding Presence from 0.33 to 0.5 seconds. So it's just giving you Argus more. That's it. Right? Yeah. Yeah. Pretty big, though. Pretty big. Darda's patch, it looks like that to me. Hercules, decrease the cooldown from 14 to 13 on his driving strike, and decrease the cooldown from 14 to 12. From 14 to 12 to 13 to 11. So 1 second on both of Herc CCs. This change is propaganda. And the reason it's propaganda is because Herc gets owned by the DR changes. Really hard owned by the DR changes. Not to say that it completely screws him. Like, if somebody gets hit by a Herc combo, that alone can kill them more often than not. You might see this god in Soul Lane and stuff. As an avid, honest Herc support player, I'm pretty skeptical as to if you would see him there. I think Guardians just kind of run support because of the way the game is played now, with your damage not being as relevant. However, Regrowth and Sledge got buffed, and in my opinion, those are both of Herc's best support items. So I will be playing Herc support, and I will see if I'm wrong. I'm very skeptical as to if he's actually going to feel really sick or not. But I would say both of his items and both of his CC abilities have been buffed. That's definitely a huge deal. So yeah, we'll be trying it. Not that sure it's going to be good. Humbots, now knock up and knockback immune while channeling his 2, and increase the base damage from 75 to 290 to 85 to 305. Again, the last rank of this, not the biggest deal. It's the start. Just helps us clear a lot. Hunbots already has pretty good clear, by the way. Hunbots is also a very good Bumba's Hammer character, and Bumba's Hammer is now better for full damage assassins, while Hunbots is definitely a full damage assassin. So Hunbots could be pretty nice off of this. This changes a lot of matchups. Like, you know, small things like if you're against like a Hebo getting knocked up, I don't need to name all of them. You get Bacchus Flop, you get Shing Tentude, you know, there's a ton of stuff. Having knock-up immunity changes a lot of matchups. I expect you to see a lot more Humbots. Rend on Nike, 14 to 12 seconds at max rank, and Barrier Formation, increase the damage from 70 to 310 to 80 to 320. That's just a slight tweak. The cooldown on her 1 is what matters the most. When she has a lot of cooldown reduction late game, she will be spamming this. Yeah, you'll probably see more Nike. Nike, I feel like it's okay already. You might see Nike in jungle, honestly. I wouldn't be surprised if you saw Nike in jungle. She's like a pretty good full damage character, honestly. And this helps her clear a lot. So yeah, could be interesting. Pele, increase the return damage from 20 damage per shot to 30 damage per shard. We all know Pele is broken. People are sleeping on her, but this character is broken. She already does a ton of damage. Even more. Why not? Cirquette, increase the base damage on Deathbane from 50... Oh, they just reverted it. Okay. So she just does more base damage on her 1. And increase the damage mitigation on her op from 35 to 50%. Wow, they're really trying to get full damage Circuit to get in there. I'm not going to lie, this seems like more of a support buff to me. I understand that Circuit does no damage if you don't build power on her, but most supports already don't do any damage relative to other characters anyways. So to me, this just means that your laning phase would be better, and you're all in a team fight. It's harder to punish you if you ult people. I don't know if this changes much for jungle, but it's a slight buff to support. So yeah, Sirkat support maybe slightly better. Again, same thing with Herc. I don't know if it actually makes her better than Guardians. Shackles now deal 40% extra damage to jungle monsters. This is something that you're going to see in this patch is a lot of characters trying to be buffed in off roles. So Ares being buffed in jungle specifically. Ares jungle is actually pretty real, guys. Like Ares 3 does a lot of damage to camps. It'll one-shot a camp. A rank 1 Ares 3 can one-shot camps easily. So yeah, could be interesting. I'd love to see Ares jungle. I think Ares jungle happened a little bit in Season 6, and I thought it was the coolest thing. I'd love to see that come back. Danza deals 40% increased damage to jungle monsters. Danza jungle also could be nice. You hop in the rocket gank a lane. His lane gank is actually really, really good. So I love both these buffs, and then I believe Morgan got the same thing. 30% extra damage to jungle monsters. The issue with this is you could just do this as a mid laner. And it'll just be good. Like, Mori already has such good lane pressure. If she can 2 and full clear wave and then go stun a camp and one-shot it, that's a little bit crazy to me. So you're definitely going to see a lot of Mori. Of these 3 characters, you'll see a lot of Mori. I guess I should also mention this is a good buff to support on Ares as well. So Chang'e increased base HP, HP per level, total health goes up 160-ish, whatever. 15% extra damage to minions on her Crescent Moon Dance. They want the Chang'e back. 15% doesn't seem like that much. Yeah, I'm not sure about that one. Maybe it'll be okay, but Chang'e kind of seems like a weak character to me right now. Her damage is just fairly low, but I could be wrong. I'm kind of interested to see. Her HP is perfect for the new Bumbus Hammer. Thor, minions now take 100% damage from the return sting. Big buff to Thor. Is this a Sam for soccer patch? Thank God, dude. Whew. What a time to be alive. They finally are unlocking Sam. They've tried to keep him caged up for so long. My jungler has been caged in for years, guys. You don't understand. They nerfed... Sam made them nerf everything about him. And now they're just giving him a scrap. They're just giving him table scraps. Just a little bit, here and there, you know? But this is going to be bigger for solo, for sure. This is going to one-shot a wave, surely. Surely this just one-shots a wave in solo lane. So yeah, Thor solo coming back could be cool. Ares jungle coming back could be cool. Really excited for those. Zhang Kui increased base protections from 11 point... Hold on a second. 7 more prods. That's a thick boy right there. Interesting. New non-conquest balance. So basically, you guys can freeze this and read it if you'd like. Essentially, what they're doing is they're separating conquest and non-conquest stats so that they can better balance the game. As an honest duel player, I am really, really excited for this. It's really hard to get nerfs or buffs into other game modes without it absolutely owning conquest or vice versa. Like, for example, it was really hard to buff a character like Zeus or Ares for conquest because they are so good in modes like Arena at all times. So being able to separate those modes, I think, will be really good for the long term. And for the initial ones, nerfs to Opwash. I'm not going to try to, I'm not going to try to talk about how big these are. All you need to know is the general type of change that they're doing. Like Ares Oct's going to be longer, all this type of stuff. Just all these characters that are just broken in Arena. Pretty much all of these are broken in Arena. Just that type of stuff. Alquang alt cooldown is lower. Really? That's kind of sick. Same thing with Arachne, Baka. Okay, single target assassins. That kind of makes sense. No way, Kama. This may be a surprise to some, but Kama is a bottom 15 win rate for every non-conquest mode. This is crazy to me. How could that be? So Kama's just going to farm everybody, surely. Okay, Set, Serket, sure. I really can't believe that Kama's that bad in non-conquest. This god's going to be OP in duel, by the way. Just so you guys know, all of this stuff that you're seeing, okay, I'm just going to talk about this in duel terms. This could be, that's probably irrelevant in duel. But this is pretty important in duel. This is pretty important in duel. Baka's going to be crazy in duel. 10% all cooldown. His up's going to be like a 60-second cooldown at all times. This on Kama, nuts in duel. Absolutely nuts. And same thing with Set. Wow, that is crazy. Okay. Well, that's the patch notes. That was about 3.5 hours of patch notes, but it's a big one mid-season. I'm really excited for this as an honest support player who needs help because I'm horrible at the game and my role sucks. It'll be pretty nice to get to play on this patch. So yeah. Thanks guys for watching, hanging out, all that type of stuff. And I'll see you on the other side of the mid-season update.
If I'm trolling from Professor